guys, it's Looch with my friend Bill DeVille.
Thanks for having me, Looch.
Well, if we're going to talk Bob Dylan, who in the world am I going to talk to but Bill? I'll tell you what, we're going to talk a little Rolling Thunder. Now, spoiler alerts all over the place.
Yes.
So let's make sure that if you plan on watching the documentary, you don't watch this. But how many times have you seen it?
I've watched it thoroughly twice. You?
Twice.
Yes.
All right. Full disclosure, because I feel like I need to tell you this, like confess to you like a priest. Do you know that I was not a fan of Bob Dylan until my brother said, you have to watch Don't Look Back. It will change everything you ever thought.
And did it?
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree.
So there.
Yeah.
That's when I became a Johnny-come-lately to that show. But anyway, this documentary, which is made by Martin Scorsese, which, has he done anything wrong ever?
Not really.
No, Shine a Light, but every other thing, great. So
I like Shine a Light.
I did too. So it starts with this tour, and from this tour, what did you know about it? Because obviously we didn't see it.
Well, I knew that Dylan wore a really cool hat.
Yes.
I knew that. And I knew he had a lot of his cool friends, and they toured around and had a whole lot of fun, but I didn't know much beyond that. I know he made some pretty good albums around that same time. Desire and Blood on the Tracks came out all in that same window of time. So he was making some really great music during that era.
And he was playing venues that were certainly off the beat.
Like 3,000, so that'd be like Roy Wilkins auditorium size or places like that.
And it was a tour of, I think, of a more animated Dylan than I've ever seen ever.
Yeah.
And really, people all suspect that it was drug fueled, and maybe it was.
Maybe it was.
Whatever. And to me, there was a couple of standouts. And one is, of course, the way the whole thing began, which is with the present day Dylan sitting there going, what was that about? I don't know. I don't
That's
remember.
So pure Bob, though, isn't it?
It is. But then I think later it made a little more sense that because some of the facts were a little shaky in this documentary and mockumentary, and which was the first thing that made you go, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of like fake characters in the footage and stuff.
One being Bette Midler's husband,
who was really funny.
Very funny. He plays this just pompous, the filmmaker actually, and that was like clue one. And then there was the Sharon Stone thing that threw everybody for a loop.
That threw me for a loop too. I'm glad I kind of read the little introduction. It's okay, this is not real. Yeah.
Okay, and for me again, besides the things that weren't actually true, the thing I was so tripped up on is that Mick Ronson is on stage and no one acknowledges him. No one looks at him. Mick Ronson, David Bowie's guitar player.
Right-hand man.
Right-hand man.
The heyday.
Absolutely turned Bowie
into
a rock band. And so you got Mick Ronson as your touring guitar player, no T-Bone, but it was like he's in the background. He'd sort of step up, play, and then just sort of drift back into the shadow. It was just I kept thinking, what must he have been thinking?
Yeah.
You know, what am I doing?
One thing I noticed too is during all those performances, you realize how good Dylan is as a band leader.
Man,
the way he commanded the stage, and it's just his little subtle moves. He looked so cool when he's performing.
He did look so cool. Always looked so cool.
Yeah.
And this was the era of the sort of kabuki white makeup, which in the movie, of course, they tried to allege was inspired by Kiss. No way! Okay, no way. But it is a really, really interesting snapshot. Another one of my favorite moments was the conversation he and Joan Baez had where
about their relationship.
Yes, I thought that seemed really sincere, and it's so obvious they are connected. I mean, even Dylan himself in the film says, I could sing with her in my sleep, and they probably have. And it's like, she at one point says something like, well, you went and got married. And he's like, yeah, I married someone I love. And it was like, oh God, it was very real. And I just thought, wow, there's a really cool moment.
Yeah.
I think also that people who have been fans, now the box set, that's not for wimps.
No.
I mean, that
14
is...
CDs, 146 songs or something.
Okay, even as you being the fan you are.
That's more than I need.
I know, it's kind of more than anyone needs, really. But it is interesting because the release of this film and this box set is, for any Dylan fan, I mean, I just think whether or not, again, you're going to sit down and diligently listen to all the discs, you want to have it.
Yeah, but there's certain things too, like the performance at the end of Hurricane
Oh
and
my
the whole backstory.
God. Okay, that's crazy.
Yes.
Tell that story.
Well, Dylan and a couple of his bandmates stormtrooped the record label and end up taking a meeting upstairs with the big cheese from Columbia Records, Walter Yetnikoff.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're talking about what they're going to do and how they're going to release Hurricane as a single. Well, it's 8 minutes long. There's some not friendly radio words in the song.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a powerful song. And then there's an interview with Hurricane Carter as well.
Right.
Pretty incredible stuff. And then the performance is amazing at the end.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So both DeVille and I would highly recommend it for the hardcore Dylan fan, and maybe not. I mean, is it a stepping off place?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. It's a good launching point into the world of Bob Dylan.
I know. All right. So all things Zimmy, all the time. Thanks for listening.